Welcome to our posts. Today we will see stories of r/malicious compliance. Tell me I shouldn't buy delicate binoculars without insurance? Fine, I won't buy them then. Many years ago, I had some hospitality tickets for F1 at Silverstone. I think it was the year Hamilton won his first season. I decide to get some binoculars to take with me, so I go to the local Jessops and talk to a very nice sales lady, who seems genuinely excited at the idea of going to F1 at Silverstone. She suggests some binoculars and I get my wallet out. At which point sales guy comes bounding over, pushes sales lady out of the way, grabs the binoculars I was going to buy from her, and asks what I am thinking of using them for. Barely lets me answer as he grabs some that me and sales lady had already discounted, because they were twice as much, and suggests that they would be a much better option. Mildly irritated at this point, I was enjoying chatting to sales lady. I list some of the reasons that she told me they weren't a good fit. Sales guy rolls his eyes, says she just a trainee, and the expensive ones are really the ones I want. Eventually, it takes quite a stern no to stop him trying to upsell me. At this point, I really just want to walk out the shop, but I suffer from the occasionally debilitating condition of being English, and that kind of embarrassment is just too much to take. Instead, I'll buy them and go home fantasizing about all of the cool things I should have said. So, card in hand, I'm just about to pay, and he asks about whether I want insurance. No, just that, thanks. You really should have insurance, they are very delicate, it doesn't take much to knock a lens out of alignment. No, it's fine, just the binoculars please. You probably shouldn't buy them without the insurance. Finally given a way out, I nod and agree, and he runs out the back to get the paperwork for the insurance. He comes back and asks me for my name for the insurance. Oh no, sorry, I was agreeing with you that I shouldn't buy them, not if they are that delicate. I'm quite clumsy, so I definitely break them. He tries to backtrack on some of the ones that sales lady had suggested, saying that they would actually be perfect for me. I reminded him he said they weren't very good. Then I thanked him for helping me see that I really didn't need to spend all of that money on binoculars, and walked out. Next story. Left murder scene because my manager complained about overtime. In a past work life, I worked at a small newspaper where corporate insisted on paying me hourly, despite the job not being capable of being done in 40 hours. That, and anyone who knows the news industry knows that news happens more than just 9 to 5. It was implied that you just work when needed and don't miss deadlines. I did that for years. One week I ended up working over 100 hours. Lots of huge breaking news stories, and I was the only person working at that newspaper. I asked for 20 hours overtime pay, having worked 60 hours of overtime that week, and my regional manager refused because it hadn't been priorly authorized. So I told him from then on I work exactly 40 hours. And I didn't care what news happened after. I'd cover it my next workday. About 6 months go by. No major news missed. But a few things were later than they should be. Then another hell week hits. Several major car crashes, a school bomb threat, and Friday about 4 p.m. a murder. I head out to the murder scene. Get photos, talk to an officer, and am told an update is coming at 6:30 p.m. So I write up a very short piece with the info I had by 4:30, and at 5 p.m. I go home for the weekend. Readers and bosses reached out several times over the weekend. Readers I told we'd have an update on Monday, and that no one was scheduled to work the weekend. Bosses I ignored until Monday. He tried to yell. I pointed out it would have been unpaid overtime and it wasn't approved. By Wednesday they offered me a raise and put me on salary. I accepted. But left the job a few months later. Next story. My 17-year-old female manager had me leave the new girl waiting tables on her own, so I took her at her word. I am a 17-year-old woman. I am a waitress, server, and cashier at a semi-local Italian chain. Not going to say which, but it's considered a specialty of the DMV area. I recently had to take a month off of work for health reasons, since I was in the emergency room and then had to spend time in inpatient. While I was away, there were huge changes at my job, including new managers and 2 new employees. I've only been working there since last June, but I picked things up pretty quickly. Barring the first day I had to deal with a packed dining room by myself while still in training. I'd messed up pretty badly with the computer system and needed the manager's help. Still, it happens. Yesterday, I met the new girl for the first time. It was her third day, still in training. She's my age and a complete sweetheart, and as the dining room slowly became more and more packed, we made a great team. She got to practice working with the computers and talking to customers while I took down the orders and showed her how everything worked. It was her first time properly serving there, and she really did great considering that, certainly at first. The other two people who were working was a manager and one other hourly employee. The managers at my job will also serve and work the counters. Basically, all waitresses have to do double the work, and we still get paid dirt, but that's another story. I was running between the dining room and the counters to try to keep up, although we can only serve max 2 people at the counters picking up or placing orders at a time. It was to the point where my manager and her friend had bundled up and complained about how cold it was, while I was flushed, with my coat off, covered in sweat, cleaned myself up when dealing with the food, of course. The manager and her friend were sitting down together, alternating between scrolling on their phones and talking, only getting up to answer the phones when they'd already rung 5+ times and having people wait at the counters to be helped for 10+ minutes. It was massively irritating, but I didn't have the time/energy to confront them. Well, about halfway through my shift, my manager told me that I can't just go in between the dining room and the counter, and if I didn't pick one or the other she'd withhold my tips for both, since I wasn't fully invested in either. Ouch. She gave me a choice on paper, but in reality made it perfectly clear that I was stuck behind the counter and the new girl, the trainee, was on her own. There was nothing I could really do, so I just stayed at the counter, though that was plenty slammed in and of itself, and I really could have used my 2 coworkers who were screwing around on their phones. I didn't have time to answer phone calls, pack up orders, check people out, and take to-go orders all at once, and I had one particularly angry woman call me a lazy bee for leaving her on hold for about 2 minutes. That stuck with me. While I was doing all this, the new girl was stuck with a packed dining room and no help. About 20 minutes into it, my manager approaches me looking both angry and sheepish. Basically, the trainee had messed up and charged the wrong orders to the wrong cards and needed help, though the way she phrased this was, you don't have to stay by the counter the whole time. That's not what I meant. I looked over and could see her friend on her phone still, and the manager herself still had AirPods on and a show playing on her own phone screen. I responded in my sweetest, most respectful voice, "I'm sorry, but as we only get paid $10 per hour, my tips are too vital for me to forfeit them, so I'm going to stay put." Context: minimum wage is $15.65 where I live. She was floored and instead of helping either of us herself, waddled back to her seat and resumed her show. Of course, I ended up checking in with the trainee and asked if she needed my help and if the mistake was sorted out. She said that she had things back under control and a lot of the people dining in were headed out, which was great because the counter was still slammed. The kicker? This morning apparently a customer called in and complained that the blonde girl, me, and the girl with braids, trainee, were so busy that they were sweating, while the 2 other women, manager and her buddy, were sitting on their phones. I only wish I saw her face when she heard about the complaint. Next story. Management says I can't wear scrubs in healthcare. So about 10 years ago I am, 35 years old man now, became a CNA, certified nurse's aide, and worked at an assisted living. In many of these types of buildings, Cooperate does not want the nursing home, so they make their nurses and CNAs wear a business casual clothes. The place I was at required is to wear a collared shirt and khakis or black pants. Now I'm a 6 feet 3 inches male, on the skinnier side, that has been told my legs are so long I look like I'm walking on stilts. That being said, finding khakis isn't easy and I usually need to custom order them, which can be pricey. Also, I'd like to note that this building had hard carpet everywhere, and I would end up kneeling down to help tie shoes or do other things while helping out my residents, and ended up blowing out the knees on my khakis often. On the malicious compliance. One day management says that we were allowed to wear appropriate yoga pants that were black or khaki colored, with no reason given. This does nothing to help me and my holy khaki situation, and as I was making $12 per hour, custom ordered pants were very expensive to me. So I decided I was gonna buy black and khaki scrub pants. They are cheaper and more durable. I go on wearing them for about a week without issue when management calls me in and states that the policy is no scrub pants, and I would be written up if I do it again. I try to explain the financial situation, that each pair of khakis were costing me most of a day's wage and the knees would wear it quick. They respond with, "Tough shit, no scrubs." I then grab the flyer they posted about yoga pants and start to make the case that if women are allowed to wear yoga pants, which are much cheaper, I should be able to wear scrubs. Again, they say, no, it's not the same. At this point, I look down and see the wording on the flyer is, as a thank you for your hard work, management has decided to allow all nursing staff to wear appropriate yoga pants if they would like. No gender noted, just that they must be black/khaki and not low cut. The malicious compliance, I go home and tell my GF at the time about this and ask her for a pair of her black yoga pants. Just an FYI, she was barely 5 feet 3 inches, and when I tried them on they barely went past my knees. They covered my butt though, so they worked. The next day, I walked into work proudly sporting the high water yoga pants with my hairy calves, stilt-like legs, and black juicy lettering on my butt. I made sure to tuck in my shirt so everyone could revel in my glorious bony butt. 1 hour into my shift, when management gets there, I instantly get called into the office with my boss and HR. Nelb 13, what are you doing? You are not wearing the correct uniform and we will need to send you home now. I grab the flyer and point out that nowhere did they ever say that this was only for women to wear, and they also don't say anything about length on it. I then say that they are at the appropriate height, put my hands on my hips, do a 180 to show off and smile at them looking over my shoulder. Boss, that's not the point, Nelb 13, you know what we meant. HR, actually that is the point. He's right, you did say nursing staff could wear these, and they fit the criteria you put in place. Boss has a wicked scowl on her face knowing she got beat, but then pauses and laughs. Okay, fine, wear your scrubs. Just no more yoga pants. I've already heard the female residents talking about your juicy but more than I'd like. Go home and change though. For a long time I got teased by a bunch of 85 years old women about when I was gonna be showing off my juicy butt and legs again, but at least I got to wear scrubs. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel or posts.